Hello, my name is Olivia, and I've just felt recently that I should share a bit of the journey that I've been on in the last couple of years, really. So I was basically living life normally, working full time and all. I have two little boys, and when in July 2017, while getting ready for work one morning, I had a seizure. I'd never had one before. I was in really good health, so it was completely unexpected. I was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and over time they did some scans and tests. And even though initially it was more like, oh, it's probably a one-off, or it might, this could have happened. It turned out that unfortunately it was a brain tumor. So I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, an astrocytoma. It was quite a shock, to say the least. I had surgery in January 2019. They managed to take out a bit of it, just over half of it, but they couldn't take out everything because of the impact on my functionality. So it's in the part of the brain that controls movement on the right side of my body. But after the surgery, I was really fine. I recovered, went back to work full time, still looking after my boys. Everything was fine. And then in August 2022, so during the summer, just being a bit tired. I'd had a scan previously in May that they said it looks like the tumor is growing again, but I wasn't having any symptoms, so I was fine. So I was a bit tired, and there was a lot happening. Basically, I had the kitchen, a leak that ended up with my kitchen ceiling collapsing. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but it was just a bit of a stressful time then. But I went on holiday at the start of September, and I felt really relaxed, and was really happy I had that time off with my boys. Came back, started at work. I'd been at work for a week by this time, when all of a sudden, 15th of September, I had multiple seizures while at work. I was working from home. So thankfully my brother was around on a visit, and he called the ambulance, and I was rushed to the hospital, and they kind of figured that it was the tumor that had grown a bit and was causing the seizures. And I was in the hospital for a bit. I was discharged, but unfortunately I've continued to have the seizures since I've been home. Now it's been, needless to say, it's been quite a challenging journey. But I think what has really blown me away over this period is the love I've experienced. So many people, I don't even want to start naming names because I might forget, but people have basically just, in a time where it would have been so easy to doubt God's love, people have been so loving, so kind, just sorting out meals for me and the boys. A group of moms from my son's school just set up this rota to pick the boys up and drop them at school because I couldn't really walk long distances. Church family have been amazing. I just felt really supported and loved, and I wasn't, even though I should have probably been so upset I wasn't as upset as I thought I would be. So I think for me, one thing I've really learned about all this is the value of community, the value of, being part of that church community, wherever we find ourselves, really being part of that community, and also the difference that little kind acts have made to me and can make to anybody else in a similar situation. I remember one day my neighbor just knocked on the door. My neighbor across the street just knocked on the door and said, I don't know what's going on, and you don't need to tell me if you don't, but I've noticed that you've not been coming out lately, and people have been coming to take the boys to school and bring them home. This is my number. I live literally across the street from you. Call me in the middle of the night if you need anything. I am right here, just little things like that. Just knowing that if anything happened, I had that kind of support. So many people just being Chris, I call Chris my fairy godmother, but she's really helped so many people, honestly, just being there. I can't even start to name people taking me to the hospital for my radiotherapy appointments, which I'm currently doing because I've now had to start radiotherapy and will be doing chemotherapy after. I guess in the midst of all this, over this period, I've known that I've had this tumor for about 5 years, so it's not like new. But I think in the midst of this, I think for me, one thing that I really felt, which sounds a bit trite, but that life really is short. Unfortunately, brain tumors don't have great statistics. And it depends on the kind of tumor and I hope that, I'm fortunate. But the thing is, at the end of the day, nobody knows. There are no guarantees. But I've really learned, like, living. I really felt committed, and determined to kind of live a life in service to God with whatever time I had. And I think also learning to trust. It's been a daily journey, but sometimes I remember the first day I had my radiotherapy session, and I'd been so nervous prior to starting this session. I didn't even want to do the treatment. I was really nervous about the side effects and how I would feel. And I remember just lying there, and then they make these masks, like a mold, they kind of put over your head, so you have to stay really still while the radiation beams are kind of directed at the tumor. And I just remember feeling this peace, felt like this presence with me. And I just felt so calm, and I didn't think I would feel that calm because I had been so nervous, but I genuinely felt that calm. And since then, I've never been worried, and the staff have been incredibly lovely. Part of me is like, obviously as Christians, I believe in healing, but I also know that it doesn't always happen for everybody. And I think I've had my low days. What I've done recently is I've listened to a lot of worship music, and sometimes I'll sing along, and sometimes I feel really inspired by the lyrics. But I remember listening, there's this Don Men song that is quite popular, it's I Am the Lord That Healeth Thee, and there's a version where he does a kind of, he speaks a little bit at the start, and he says, nobody listening to me today would doubt that if God walked into your room and touched you, you would be healed. And sometimes I would listen to that and feel like, amen, yes, And then there'll be other times I would listen to it and feel like, yeah, my door is literally open. Why doesn't he walk in? And even if my door wasn't open, he can walk through doors and he can walk through walls. So why doesn't he heal me? But at the end of it, I think I've come to realize that I can trust him. The things I was worried about, like how will I do the school run? How will I make meals? God has sorted out every single thing way better than I could have ever done. My kids are probably getting to school earlier these days. I'm not the one dropping them. But he has sorted out every single thing. I've never lacked food. My kids have never missed school. They've had people just being around them, taking them out to the cinema and all that. People have been so kind. I remember another thing this has taught me, I guess, is how to kind of better offer support. I found that when people suggest things, it makes it easier than just saying, if there's anything I can do, because then I kind of don't feel like I'm imposing if you're the one that suggested something. At the end of the day, I'm learning to trust God. I'm learning to be patient, and I'm learning that I think for me, the hardest thing at the end of this was like, what if I don't survive it? What if, that I don't, the treatment doesn't work and all that. And for me, while I really sometimes find comfort in the scripture that to live is Christ, to die is gain. So one way or the other, as Christians, we have that hope. I've never been afraid of dying, but I have been concerned for my kids because they're quite young. They're only 9 and 7. And I've thought, well, I don't mind, if it's just me, but I don't want to leave my kids. And I think recently what I've just felt in my heart is God saying, you know what, I love them more than you love them. And I've just felt to trust him that no matter what, they're going to be okay. What I really want to, I guess, encourage people is, really for us to really shine in our communities in showing love. It doesn't have to be something big. And sometimes we are not physically able to, but we can always pray for people. And I think we should really never underestimate how much just showing a simple act of kindness, just every single person that has taken my child to school, made a meal, whatever they've done, has made me less worried. That's been one less thing for me to worry about, and it's made such a difference. So I really want to say thank you to everyone, and I would also encourage us to be part of our communities. There's something, I lead Alpha quite a bit, and And it was actually an emotional journey, you know, trying to, obviously I had to go off work during this, and a couple of other things I was involved in. I was a charity trustee. I had to temporarily step down. And, you know, it was quite an emotional thing to stop all these things I was doing. But there's also something, when I've led the Alpha course with Harry, there's something he talks about head knowledge and heart knowledge, and usually in reference to knowing God. And for me, I guess, in my head, and I had preached about this, you know, the value of community. So I had head knowledge of community, but now I think I have heart knowledge of how valuable it is. And wherever that community is, whether it's a church community, whether it's your street, whether it's your school, workplace, whatever, it's honestly, it can be such a lifeline. And I would really encourage us to be part of that. So, thank you.